Okay, great. Can you hear me?
Yep, all good.
Excellent, excellent. Okay, well, yeah, thank you to the organizers for the opportunity to speak today and to you all for coming. My name is Jonathan Colmer, and this is joint work with John Voorhees, who's at the US Census Bureau. So, growing evidence suggests that early childhood, and in particular, the 9-month gestational period, is the most critical period for human development, and that environmental factors shape endowments at birth, and that has long-run consequences for health and welfare. And one area that has received a lot of attention in recent decades is the effect of prenatal pollution exposure. This affects child's health at birth, and again, has also been shown to have persistent effects throughout the life cycle. A separate literature has considered the importance of parental endowments in shaping the economic opportunities of their children, and documented that there is high levels of intergenerational persistence. However, one of the challenges in this space has been finding exogenous variation in parental endowments. And so taking these findings together, it raises an important question. Do environmental shocks to endowments at birth have persistent effects across generations? And the answer to this question is important. It has implications for the returns to investments in environmental quality and for understanding the role that environmental quality plays in shaping economic opportunity and social mobility. So how do we answer this question? Well, the existing literature has focused on the first generation, those that are directly affected. These folks receive a pollution shock in early childhood, and then their outcomes are evaluated later in life relative to those that didn't receive the shock in early childhood. We're interested in the later life outcomes of the second generation, so the children of those that were directly affected. However, in addition to the usual challenges associated with identifying pollution effects, we face a further challenge. Individuals that are exposed to more pollution in early childhood are probably also exposed to more pollution later in life. And it may well be the case that their children are also exposed to more pollution as well. So to identify the effects on the second generation, we need a research design that isolates the effects of parental prenatal pollution exposure holding constant post-birth pollution exposure. To do this, we exploit the well-established 1970 Clean Air Act amendments research design that was introduced by Che and Greenstone and has been used by many others since. And the 1970 Clean Air Act introduced the National Ambient Air Quality Standards. And this meant that at the time of implementation, some areas had pollution levels that were above the standard. These areas were known as being in non-attainment, whereas others were below the standard and therefore in compliance with the regulation. So following implementation, we know that these non-attainment areas experience large and sharp reductions in particulate matter pollution relative to attainment areas. And so the research design isolates the additional effect of parental exposure to clean air in very early childhood relative to improvements in air quality experienced by parents born before the Clean Air Act. And this means that the children born before and after should be exposed to the same pollution in later childhood and adulthood. So using data on 186 million parent-child links, we explore the effects of parental prenatal particulate matter exposure on second-generation later life outcomes. What do we find? Well, improving air quality has intergenerational consequences. We find that reductions in parental prenatal pollution exposure are associated with meaningful increases in second-generation high school completion and college attendance that translate into non-trivial earnings effects. We also explore the mechanisms. We don't find any evidence of a biological pathway, instead find that parental resources and investments appear to be important. Finally, back of the envelope calculations suggest that accounting for second generation earnings effects increases total benefits by 20%. So to conclude, we find that the consequences of prenatal particulate matter exposure persist across generations. And this has implications for thinking about economic inequality and disparities because it suggests that these disparities, economic disparities, may persist even after air quality has been improved. Consequently, within-generation analyses may substantially underestimate the total welfare benefits of investments in environmental quality. Thank you.
Great.